What's up, fans? Anchorpete here, and I'm with my co-host Danny, Dr. Zayas God. How you doing today, Danny?
I'm pretty good. Just came from the Brooklyn Nets game. We clinched the first round, so now I'm ready to talk about horror with you.
Yeah, it's been a crazy month, and we just wrapped up our Saw stuff. You and Charlotte did a fantastic job talking about the Saw movies.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so we were gonna cram The Conjuring and Saw together, but I think that we should devote June to the Conjuring movies. What do you think, man?
It. I'm looking forward to that because the Conjuring universe has been this kind of thing in the horror world that I've skated around. I've seen The Conjuring 1 and 2, and I think that's it. I
Oh
think that
shit!
I think that's all I've seen. Like, I didn't see any of the Annabelle movies. I didn't see The Nun. I didn't see The Curse of La Llorona. So yeah, I think it's literally just the two Conjuring movies that I've seen. So if it's a chance for me to see more movies I haven't seen, yeah, let's go for it.
Nice. Well, I just watched The Conjuring like 2 days ago, and spoiler alert, I friggin' loved it. I got a lot to say about this movie. I just did a live review of a Superman show. That's why I wear my Superman shirt. But we got to get this shit out, man, because you got to do Conjuring 2, and then the movie friggin' comes out, Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, comes out Friday.
Yeah,
So,
and I was just telling you before, like I'm gonna try to. It's not scheduled as of now for Thursday night shows, but if A Quiet Place 2 got a Thursday night show, I'm pretty sure Conjuring 3 is gonna get a Thursday night show. So I'm probably going to see Conjuring 3 Thursday night. I'm going to try to watch part 2 with Charlotte tomorrow. Both the first two are on Netflix. So Charlotte and I just watched it a few days ago. And it's actually the first time I watched The Conjuring since the movie theater.
oh
So
shit.
yeah, so it was like watching it for the first time.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Well, like I said, I got a lot to say about this movie. I did some research on it. And by the way, if anyone's watching right now live with us, please join in the discussion. We want to know what you think about this movie. We always love when people participate on these discussions. But I did some research. And so the movie came out in 2013. It's directed by James Wan. We were just talking about him because we were talking about the Saw movies, right?
Yeah, this is
And
like some like weird twisted sister of the Saw franchise because Juan went from this, then he did Dead Silence, which was a pretty cool little horror movie, and then The Conjuring. And he did the first two Conjuring movies, so
yeah,
they're definitely related.
yeah, I'm just like more and more impressed with him. I think as far as like his movies that I've seen, Conjuring, and then he just did Saw 1. That's it, right? As far as the
Yeah,
Saw movies go. Okay, and then I didn't see Dead Silence, and then I've seen Aquaman, right? And I actually love all three of those movies. So that I just listed.
I watched Aquaman on a flight to the Bahamas, and
Okay.
that is the perfect movie to watch on a flight to the Bahamas. Let me tell
Right.
you, it made the time go because I think it's like 2.5 hours, and the flight is about 2.5 hours.
Oh shit.
So it just worked perfectly. And like, I don't know if you've ever been to the Caribbean, but the Bahamas, like the water is just crystal clear. So it was just perfect timing. Like I really enjoyed Aquaman. I feel like if I watched it on my couch, I would have been like, "Oh, that's so stupid." But on a plane to the Bahamas, I was like, "This is the best movie."
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that Aquaman's pretty damn silly, and Saw, as good as Saw is, it is a little, silly too. But this movie is not at all. This is just straight up. This is a tight movie. This is a scary movie. I'm recording this shit in my garage right now, and I'm freaked the fuck out to talk about this movie because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see that bike handle move over there. You're gonna see like fucking Bathsheba. She's gonna probably pop in at some point.
Yeah, yeah, she's good. I watched this the other night with Charlotte and my nephew Nikki, who's they're 6 months apart, so they're both varying degrees of 10 years old, and it was so much fun watching it with the two of them.
Yeah.
And then it was so funny because they slept out on my couch. Like my couch is like a recliner couch, so they both slept out on the couch, and I fell asleep in bed, and I wake up at like 3 a.m, and I look at my phone, and Charlotte had texted me at like 12:30. I can't believe you made me watch The Conjuring. Now I'm up and I can't sleep. So I walk out in the living room, and of course she's like passed out. It's 3 a.m. But it was just funny that was her reaction to it. And my nephew had the same reaction. He was like, "I want to watch The Conjuring. Yeah, I'm so excited." And then like he was like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, man, because I want to talk about the backstory, but like just that kind of reaction your daughter had and her cousin, right?
mm-hmm,
It's like it reminds me of like when we saw certain types of movies when we were kids, right?
mm-hmm.
And I was gonna say from our, what would you connect? What movie would you this movie to?
So it's funny you bring that up because I basically, when I saw this movie in 2013,
Right.
I liked it. Watching it the other night, I think I've elevated it from I liked it to now I think I love it.
Yep.
But my complaint about the movie when I first saw it was this movie was basically half Poltergeist,
Mm-hmm.
half The Exorcist.
Okay.
And to the point where I was really advocating on social media, this is before they remade Poltergeist. And I wanted James Wan to remake Poltergeist. I was like, if this is what he did with The Conjuring, he would be the best person to remake Poltergeist. And then they just made it and it was really bad. But and he had nothing to do with it. So, but yeah, those were the first two movies that I connected it to right away. Poltergeist and The Exorcist.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of going for. I was like, yep, that totally reminds me of Poltergeist. And I mean, obviously, like the aspect of the family, the young kids, the family kind of reaching out to help from like psychics. That's a major part of this. But then I also thought of modern movies that this kind of reminds me of too, and it reminds me a lot of the first Paranormal Activity. It reminds me of shit, and my mind's going blank. Exorcism of Emily Rose too.
Oh, okay, definitely.
Yeah.
I was also going to say, I mean, to keep it in the family with James Wan, Insidious, the whole idea of a haunting in a house and you're bringing in people to deal with it. And we didn't mention the Insidious films before. That was another franchise. I was a real, I don't know, curmudgeon towards horror movies in like the 2010s, where like I watched them and I was just like, nah, that wasn't that good. And I like wrote off the first Insidious movie. I kind of wrote off The Conjuring as like a Poltergeist ripoff. And then like I rewatched them years later and I'm like, why was I such an idiot? These are great.
Right.
I literally rewatched the Insidious franchise 1, 2, 3, and 4 in a day, and I was like blown away by it. And I remember I messaged Chris, and I was like, "You were right. I messed up. They're really good."
Yeah, dude. I mean, so then James Wan directed all those, or the first two, or what?
He definitely did the first two. I think Lee Winnell directed part 3. I think that was his first movie that he directed.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure about the fourth one, but I think like it's his franchise though. One.
Yeah, man. I got to check that out after this because I've heard good things about that too, and I just really loved this.
Yeah.
So like the reason why I was bringing up Paranormal Activity and the Exorcism of Emily Rose too is because there's a little bit of that found footage aspect in this. Just like in Paranormal Activity. Oh, shit, they're coming to get you already, man.
Yeah, they're drag racing outside, apparently.
Oh, but I was going to say, and then there's also one aspect to this of like, there's a presence in your house, but if you go somewhere, it's connected to you now. And that totally Paranormal Activity too. And then with the Exorcism of Emily Rose, it's kind of that feeling of like, is this really happening? People are skeptical about it, but then there's people that really believe that this is a demonic possession. So there's all these other movies that kind of connect to this, but I almost kind of feel like this is superior to all of them. Maybe not Poltergeist. And I actually really hold Exorcism of Emily Rose really in high regard too. But this, dude, I fucking love this so much. I keep talking about how much I love this movie.
It's like I said, I've only seen this movie twice,
Yeah.
and I liked it the first time, and sitting on the couch watching 2 10-year-olds react to it was so entertaining. And Charlotte's seen a lot of horror movies. She's seen The Exorcist and Poltergeist.
Right.
And this movie still creeped the hell out of her. And like, this is one of those great horror movies where I was actually looking on IMDb, and it said that this movie, they tried to get this rated PG-13 because there's no cursing, there's no death in the entire movie. Nobody dies, except for like the deaths that are talked about that were caused by Bathsheba in the past. No characters die on screen. There's almost no blood in the movie, and there's no cursing. So they were like, can we get a PG-13 rating? And the ratings board was like, no, this is the scariest movie we've ever seen. You're getting an R. And I think that they all just were kind of like, yeah, all right, we'll take it. Like, and I was like, that's actually kind of perfect. Like, this is a legit horror movie where nobody dies. There's no, and like, you know, you mentioned we came off of the Saw franchise, where the whole point of the Saw franchise is blood, gore, and death. And to go into the Conjuring movie where it's just, there are jump scares, but they're warranted jump scares. And there's just great camera angles and great practical effects. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Well, let's take this bad boy apart. Let's talk about why we love it so much. So just a few things like behind the scenes stuff I just want to touch upon real quick too. So Chad Hayes, Hayes, and they're actually twins, the two guys that wrote it, right? And they also wrote House of Wax. Now, I know I haven't seen this House of Wax remake, but a lot of people, I guess you included, like that House of Wax remake, right?
I will defend House of Wax till my darkest days. I love the House of Wax remake. I really do. I think very simply, Paris Hilton is in that movie. So the people who hate it because Paris Hilton is in it. And I think that is legit their only reason for hating it. But I don't want to spoil it for you because you should watch it. Sure. But they put Paris Hilton in their movie, and everybody said the same thing. If you're going to put her in the movie, you have to kill her in an epically great way. Right. And they do. And it's really cool. I thought the effects were great. There's some real gnarly stuff. There's some legit scares. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a totally cool remake.
I'll check it out eventually. Once maybe there's a certain theme or something like that, or maybe just if we're talking about the movies connected to. Besides House of Wax and this, they also did TV shows too. They did a whole bunch of movies as well, but they worked on TV shows like Baywatch and the Beastmaster show. They did the original Flash show from the 90s. They wrote like the first episode of that, which was like really violent. Yeah. So that's like a little backstory into the guys that wrote the movie. And of course, James Wan directed it. It's obviously based on like real people, whether, like what actually happened to these people, how true that is or not. But, it's Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren. And another just interesting thing about this is that they shot the movie in chronological order, which we know that that's not very common for a movie. But I think that for a movie like this, which kind of builds and builds slowly, and then it kind of comes this big crescendo, I think that it's good that they filmed it in chronological order.
Yeah, I having never been like on a movie set, I feel like it's got to be so weird to like do a dramatic scene and then have to go back to something that takes place near the beginning of the movie when you've already like exasperated yourself in this crazy scene, especially for like Lily Taylor, who
Yep.
undergoes this insane transformation in this film. Like, could you imagine having to do the last half hour of the movie and then you go back to being like loving mom and wife, and you're like, that's got to be freaky on everybody. So I think for her especially, going in chronological order was probably for the best.
Yes.
But yeah, I do think that's interesting that more movies don't do that. I guess it's probably like a budget thing. Like, you put all the effects scenes together, you put all the, this movie also does benefit though from having very few locations. Like, almost the
Yes.
entire movie, you have the opening scene with Annabelle, which we
Yeah.
didn't even mention. You have
Right.
like the opening Annabelle scene. Then you have like one or two little scenes at the Warren house.
Right.
But the rest of the movie is essentially in the Perrin,
yeah, or
the
Perron.
Perrin house.
Yeah, Perrin sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I just think the house itself, the way the house looks, is such a great location.
Hell yes.
Like, I'm looking at the screen that we're on and the tree.
Yup.
Like, that tree is great.
That tree's perfect.
And like, even at the very beginning, the scenes where like the dog is barking and you pan back and there's all the windows, the horror fan in you is looking all over the place because you're just expecting, if the dog's barking, you're expecting to see something, and you're just like scanning every corner of the screen. It reminded me a little of what we talked about watching Hill House and Bly Manor, where you're just every inch of the screen you're looking for something that's hidden.
Yep.
So yeah, it really liked the way that Juan set this movie up, production wise.
Yeah. See, I'm so glad that you said that, because that was one other thing I wanted to compare it to, was The Haunting of Hill House, and I guess Bly Manor too, because it doesn't have that kind of, that, even though it is about a family, it doesn't have that sort of like that family drama aspect as much, but it certainly has that sort of that mythology that like Hill House had, of the mythology of the ghosts. Like, the ghost influenced this, like this twisted person did this, and they haunted this person. There's a lot of that. And I just feel like this has a lot of aspects of a whole bunch of things that we like a lot. And there's one sequence in this, like, so Lily, I want to make sure I say her fucking name right, because I keep saying it's the name of that. You know, the actress that played Cinderella?
Yes, there's Lily. There's a million Lilies now. There's Lily Tomlin.
Right.
In this movie. There's Lily James, who I think you might be thinking of. Is she the one that's playing Pamela Anderson?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
She's also in. My wife is currently, Athena's watching Downton Abbey, and I think she's in Downton Abbey.
That's right.
Yeah, this is Lily Taylor.
Lily Taylor. So I want to talk about this one sequence with her that was like one of my favorites in the whole movie, is when she's doing laundry outside, and then the sheet goes away in the wind, and then it like takes the form of a creature. Or go ahead.
No. I just I know exactly. That's such a good scene.
You pan up, and then you see the person in the window too, and that was so chilling. And that reminded me of some Hill House stuff. You know, you just catch something real quickly. You know. Lily Taylor, while we're talking about her, I've always loved her. She's used in a lot of different things, and a lot of times she's like the supporting character. She's never really like the main character. She's in a whole bunch of HBO shows, and she's always memorable. She's very memorable in 6 Feet Under. Did you ever see that?
So somewhere behind me, I have the entire box set, and it's unopened. And like Athena and I always talk about that, like that's going to be, because my sister-in-law especially just keeps telling us best show ever made. And my dad used to tell me how great it was. So like that's on the list, shows that we got to watch. I know Lily Taylor, and I love Lily Taylor from like 80s John Cusack movies. Say Anything. Yeah. Like she was like his best friend. My mom always quotes this one line that Lily Taylor says in Say Anything, where she tells John Cusack, the world's full of guys, Lloyd. Be a man. And like my mom always tells me that line, and like that. So yeah, that's Lily Taylor for me is always like John Cusack's like friend in Say Anything, and I love that movie so much.
Yeah, she's just so great, and what she does at the end of this movie, it's like almost on par. What's the actress's name that is in Curse of Emily Rose or Exorcism of Emily?
Jennifer Carpenter?
Yeah, Carpenter. Right. She's fantastic in that. And then like Lily Taylor's almost on par with that because I almost feel like you can't go beyond that because Jennifer Carpenter in Exorcism of Emily Rose is like ridiculous. And then just one little side thing, Danny, we got a little comment from another channel, The Horror Couple. Hey guys, love your channel. We do reviews of horror films and The Last Drive as well. We're looking forward to checking out The Conjuring 3 this weekend too. Let me tell you guys, Horror Couple, we are always looking to do collaborations. If you guys want, just DM one of us on Twitter, and maybe we could set up a collaboration. It'd be cool to reach out to another channel. But thank you for commenting.
Thanks, guys. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, let's talk about Lily Taylor's family real quick too. So you got the Perrin family, and her husband is Ron Livingston too. Once I saw him, I started cracking up.
Office Space. I mean,
Office Space.
He'll always be up. The cat. What are you doing up there? Yeah, he'll always be Peter from Office Space for me. I mean, he's so straight-laced in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's such like a good husband and dad that you almost forget, but then you look at him in the face and you're like, nah, it's Peter from Office Space.
right. And it sucks because like he's this truck driver who's struggling to pay for his 5 daughters that he has and his wife, right? And when I knew he was going to go on a shift and leave his family, I was like, no, don't go. You have no idea what's going to happen, man.
Yeah. Freaking Lundberg.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, right, is that there's other, like, some of the daughters are, like, recognizable horror actresses, too, right? Like,
Joey King is one of the younger daughters.
Right. And then, then there's Mackenzie Foy. I think she's in some other horror thing, but I recognize her from Interstellar. She's Matthew McConaughey's daughter in that, too.
I never saw that. That's always one of those movies where it's like, I really want to watch this, but I need 3 hours. And like you, I have a full house, and it's very rare where I have 3 hours to just dedicate to a movie that I actually have to pay attention to.
Well, let me tell you this. If you ever want to watch that, I'll do a video with you on my other channel, Comic Books Explained. What the fuck is the name of my channel? Comic Books Transformed. And then I've yet to watch friggin'...
I know what you're going to say. I haven't watched it either.
Tenet. Yeah. I want to review that shit too. So maybe we'll do that on my other channel too.
Yeah.
But
that's another one I haven't gotten to yet, where it's just like 2.5 hours of what everyone is saying is the most confusing movie ever made. And I'm like,
yeah, not right now, right? Yeah. Maybe when your summer break starts, we'll bust those out. Yeah. So let's talk about the Warrens then. You know that I'm actually a really big fan of Patrick Wilson too.
Oh, he's like, I think we were talking the other day, just messaging. He's such an underrated horror star now. Like he's a mainstream actor who has gone out of his way to really become a genre star. Mm-hmm. He's the star of the Insidious franchise. He's Ed Warren in 3 Conjuring movies. Plus, I think he's in a few of the Annabelle movies. He was in Hard Candy, which was really crazy back when that came out. He's done he was in Watchmen, which not a horror movie, but definitely is it's up there as a genre film. It's a comic book sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
He really makes some bold choices, and he's a hell of an actor.
Yeah. He's so good in this. He's got that sort of that everyman kind of quality just in general. But in this, he's got that great combination of he's talking about the fantastic with exorcisms and demons, but then he's also this sort of down-to-earth guy. At one point, he goes to help Mr. Perrin work on his car. you know, and then like there's another part where they go to investigate like a possible haunting or demon possession, and it's just like some pipes in a house, you know.
Yeah.
So he's just like the kind of atypical guy from that time period. Kind of reminds me of like my grandfather or something, you know. And it's like you feel safe around him and his wife in this movie. There's one point where they go right into the basement of this house, and the lights are off, and the camera's following them, and not for a second do you ever have that kind of horror movie feeling of like, oh, these people are stupid. They deserve what's coming to them. You just think like, these are brave people. They know what they're doing, and they're just going to handle it, you know?
Yeah. No, he's definitely like, he starts screaming in Latin at the end of the movie. And it's like, not for 1 second am I like, Patrick Wilson doesn't know Latin. I'm like, no, Patrick Wilson probably learned Latin for this movie. It makes perfect sense. Like,
yeah, the horror couple agrees. They love
awesome.
Patrick Wilson. Think he's an awesome actor. He is probably my favorite performance by him is in the Fargo TV series too. That's a whole other thing.
Oh man,
season 2.
Everybody's in Fargo. I gotta get on Fargo, man.
Yeah. So Vera Farmiga too. Just once again, she's fantastic. I love her in The Departed. So many other things too.
Oh and my god, my Athena and I watched one of our favorite shows ever was Bates Motel, and Ryan, what's up, man? Ryan is a guy from Stardust and the Stardust app, which is closing down in a couple days, which is kind of depressing. But what's up, Ryan? Bates Motel, man. Vera Farmiga on Bates Motel, so good. One of the, if you haven't watched that's what you should do this summer. That is a phenomenal show.
Yeah. Sherry and I watched like the first season of it, and then I know we got sidetracked with all the other shows that we watched, but yeah, she's awesome in it. In this, this might be the best performance I've seen of her. I mean, she is real good as Norman Bates' mother too. But she has this great like headstrong kind of quality where, you know, you feel like the family is safe with her around too, but then you also know that she could easily be affected by the presence there. And so you're worried about her safety throughout the whole movie. Especially that one scene, Jesus Christ, where she like falls through the floors to land in the basement. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah. It was that's what I was gonna say. You were talking about like movies that this reminds you of. This scene where they open up the cabinet and there's the hole behind it. Anytime you go into the walls of a house, my first thought always goes to my favorite Wes Craven movie, People Under the Stairs.
There you go.
And it's one of the reasons I'm very happy I've always lived in an apartment, because like big houses creep me out. I don't like my brain doesn't understand how there's a wall and there's room in between the walls for people and animals to run around.
Yeah.
And living on the 6th floor of an apartment, I'm very comfortable knowing that there's no space between my walls. There's an elevator. There's a literal elevator on that side of my wall. There's no room for a human being or any demons or any children to play. And I like that.
Yeah. I mean, this movie capitalizes on that space. I mean, she falls through, she's trapped there. Patrick Wilson is like hitting on the walls and he's saying, you know, are you in there? You know, are you there? And, you know, and it's scary. But then at the end of the movie too, the youngest daughter is trapped like underneath the floor too. That is probably the movie at its scariest, is when the people are like cut off from everyone else with this presence. Yeah. So you have seen the second one, you said?
I saw the second one in theaters, and I liked the second one better than the first one. Okay. But I haven't rewatched it, so I'm going to rewatch it tomorrow. I'm really excited to rewatch it because I remember loving the second one more than the first. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion. I've seen a lot of people, I think, kind of where both Conjuring films were held in very high regard.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because with James Wan's other series, I liked Insidious, but I love Insidious 2. Insidious 2 is like Back to the Future, but a horror movie.
Oh, okay.
It's insane. But like Patrick Wilson is like in half of Insidious 2 is like reliving Insidious 1 from a different point of view.
Okay.
That's what I mean by the Back to the Future aspect, where it's like Back to the Future 2, you see all the parts of Back to the Future 1.
Right.
So I loved the part 2s of James Wan's Supernatural series.
Okay, well, dude, I'm ready to watch that one. Let's see. Okay, I think it looks like Ryan is going to start his own YouTube channel. He's going to review The Rocketeer this Thursday. Awesome, Ryan. I'll subscribe to your channel with my YouTube channels that I have too. It's good to meet you, man. And then the horror couple said, "What's your favorite of the Conjuring movies? Like, what's your favorite movie in the universe?"
Well, I was telling you at the beginning, I've literally only seen The Conjuring 1 and 2, so I'm gonna say The Conjuring Part 2 for now. But we're gonna go through and watch the rest of the movies. I know Chris loved or really liked the second and third Annabelle movies. He really liked Creation and.
Dude, do you see? I just like freaked out.
Yeah,
I'm just doing a live show right now.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. You said my wife just came in and scared the shit out of me.
I was like, I hope you're talking to Shari or one of the girls. Otherwise,
yeah.
I'm gonna be on my own on this channel.
But
what is it? Annabelle Creation and Comes Home are 2 and 3.
Right.
I know Chris really liked both of those.
Okay.
And I've heard mixed reviews of The Nun and La Llorona. The first Annabelle is pretty universally crapped on. So I'll watch it just to get it out of the way.
Oh, well, that's what I loved about this, where it was sort of like the cold open of the movie, right? Was showing Annabelle. And I have started Annabelle Creation, but I haven't gotten all the way through it yet. I have to watch movies in like pieces. But it's so cool to see like this character that's become this fixture of horror movies at this point. I mean, this movie is from 2013.
Yeah.
She's been around. People talk about her. We're both teachers. The students reference Annabelle all the time. My 10-year-old daughter's never seen any of these movies. She knows who Annabelle is. And it's so cool that she's just in this like cold open in the beginning of this movie.
I was going to say, is there a more successful cold open in horror history where the cold open is not really part of the rest of the movies, but it spawned its own trilogy?
Right.
It's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
For a cold open of a horror movie to launch its own trilogy, is pretty impressive.
Yeah. And I love that at the end, well, not in the end, it's sort of like in the middle of the movie, when Bathsheba is like trying to mess with the Warrens family, and the daughter gets kind of trapped near that room that has all the crazy artifacts in it, and she sees Bathsheba rocking with Annabelle. And the parents go and save her, and she's like, "Oh, she was sitting in a rocking chair with Annabelle." And it's just that sort of that familiarity with this ridiculous demonic, doll.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's
and
funny
in real life, Annabelle is just like a Raggedy Ann doll.
That was the exact thing I was just about to say.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Because I looked it up because Charlotte was like, "That's the scariest doll. Why would anybody have that doll?" I'm like, "Because that's not what Annabelle looked like." And I showed her, and she was like, "Oh." Yeah. I'm like, but wouldn't it be scarier if they just used a real, like a regular doll? Because and I said to her, I was like, you have dolls in your bed that look totally normal. If one of them was evil, wouldn't that be scary?
Yeah.
That probably wasn't the best thing to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, get under that little girl's skin. Good idea. So the horror couple, their favorite is The Conjuring 2 as well. Okay. Well, we're going to rank all of these movies just the way that we ranked the Alien movies and the Alien franchise too. So we just got to watch them all.
If you see my eyes darting around, it's because the cat is just bouncing around like, I don't know what the hell she's chasing, but she's chasing something. Now they're chasing each other, so.
Well, dude, because of what we're talking about, I keep looking at my own video, and it's like looking in the music box with the spiral. I just keep thinking there's gonna be like a little boy or something behind me,
I
or
watched
Bathsheba.
one video. I watched one video that made a point to mention that the spiral on the mirror is a
Mm,
reference to Billy, the spiral on Billy the puppet, which
right,
I would never have made the connection.
right,
But yeah, all that stuff is like that's the type of stuff where you're watching a movie and you're going, "Oh, this is they're just doing this for a cheap jump scare. This is not gonna get." And then it's like something's in the mirror, and you go, "Oh fuck!" And then you're
right,
like, "Come on!" You're like almost mad at yourself. But
right,
that's good filmmaking. If you can get the audience knowing that a scare is coming, and they still get jump scared by it,
right.
that's good horror filmmaking. So
Exactly, and that's the thing about this movie. I think this is why I like it so much, is because there's nothing cheap. It's all very like straightforward. There isn't like a cheap jump scare where like someone kind of jumps out and says, "Oh, you needed a coffee," or like a cat jumps out. There's nothing stupid like that. Every scare is earned. I think you might have even said that at the beginning of this. Every scare is earned, and it's so much on just like atmosphere and performances. You
and
know,
yeah, oh yeah, and I got to bring up the best scare in the movie is, and I always go back to like Jaws, where the greatest music in horror movie history, and then he's chumming. There's no music at all. The shark pops out, and it's the greatest jump scare ever. There's like no music at all. The girl's banging her head on the cabinet. She brings her back, and then you see the one. I think it's Joey King. She just looks up, and the camera just pans slightly up, and it's a long shot. So it's like Bathsheba's there, but you're not looking at her because you're trained to look straight ahead, and then the camera pans up, and you're like, "Oh fuck!"
yep, yep,
And she just leaps down
yep,
onto the kid, and you're like, "What the?"
yeah,
That's such a great moment. It is such a great moment.
yep.
Like, I'm so angry at myself for not loving this movie back in 2013. I'm like, I was such an angry curmudgeon in the early 2000s.
No,
Like,
but dude, it's okay because like in the early 2000s, the whole horror scene was totally different. I remember when we were like kind of ending high school and getting into college and stuff, the quality of horror films, it was definitely different. There was every so often something that was an outlier and it was a good quality movie, but
mm,
there was so much just like formulaic crap when we
yeah,
were in our late teens, early 20s. And then like there's been kind of like this renaissance recently, I am really because of like Blumhouse and movies like this. I know this isn't a Blumhouse movie, but like James Wan and his influence, it's really
yeah.
shaped things. Yeah. Let's see what the horror couple is contributing. They're like the third guest on the show tonight. Did you guys notice all the Easter eggs of Valak in the Conjuring 2?
I know
Like,
the one. I know the one where I think it's Vera Farmiga sitting, and there's like bookends that spell out her name, Valak's name, if you're paying attention. So I know that one. If the Valak's name spread, yeah, I do know that one. Yeah,
wait, what is Valak from Insidious or from the Conjuring 2?
Valak is the so Bathsheba's the demon in part one. Valak is in part two. I'm is Valak the nun? I think Valak might be the nun. I
Oh
don't know.
shit.
I didn't see the nun, but I haven't seen The Conjuring 2 since the movie theater. So if I don't remember that, the horror couple I'm sure will tell us. But
Yes.
I know Valak because aren't they doing the painting of the nun? Oh, did you even see the? Did you
I
see
have
the?
not. So let's not
Oh,
spoil it. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I think Valak is the demon though, who's there. The Warrens are called to deal with in part two.
Okay. Okay. Here they say Valak is the nun.
Yes,
Very
I
cool. Very
remember
cool.
things.
Yes. So Danny, this might be a good segue too, and I should probably get going too because I want to be part of my horror couple. My wife did come in a couple minutes ago too, but I was going to say that Danny is going to talk about The Conjuring 2, and you're probably going to have your daughter with you too, right?
Yeah, so Charlotte and I are gonna watch. I think we will have time tomorrow. to watch The Conjuring 2. It's on Netflix. Both the first two are on Netflix. And we're going to watch it. And we're going to do a short reaction video, probably 5 to 10 minutes. Just give our like instant thoughts if she can, because she was pretty scared of the first one. But she'll overcome it, I think, to get on the camera. And then I don't know if I don't think she's going to come to the movies to see Conjuring 3. She was able to do Spiral in the movies, but that was after watching 8 Saw movies. So I think she knew exactly what to expect. These are a lot scarier than the Saw movies are.
Yes.
So I don't think she'll be able to handle that in the movie theater. So maybe I'll go, maybe I'll see it first. And then if she wants to go, I'll take her.
Well, you have HBO Max, right?
Oh, that's right. It is going straight to HBO Max.
Yeah.
Oh, then I'll go see it in the movie theater and then I'll watch with her the next day. Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. So Danny's got The Conjuring 2 with Charlotte coming up within like the next day or two. And then Danny's going to do a quick Devil Made Me Do It review. And then probably by like Sunday, Danny and I will do The Devil Made Me Do It, like a long review like this.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do a live. So we hope that you guys can join us for that too. And then throughout the course of June, we'll get that Nun in there. We'll get friggin' all the Annabelles and maybe a La Llorona.
Curse of La Llorona, yeah. Not to be confused with there's a Spanish film, La Llorona, on Shudder, which is fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Not to be confused with that movie, though. So
okay. We'll watch the subpar one that we have to pay for, not the Shudder one. Yeah, and we'll review that. But Danny, man, thank you for taking the time after going to your basketball game. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you about Conjuring 3, maybe by this Sunday.
Definitely. Can't wait. And thank you, Horror Couple, for hanging out. Thanks, Ryan, for hanging out. Thank you, guys. That was awesome. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.